Well, folks, the desert sands seem to be shifting. And not just in the literal sense. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS as the cool kids call him, recently did something pretty darn remarkable. He's been known for shaking things up, but this time he took it to another level. He stepped foot into a church. Yes, you heard that right, a church. Not just any church, mind you, but the Coptic Cathedral in Cairo. This is significant, people. The Coptic Church is one of the oldest Christian communities in the world. Saudi Arabia, as you might know, is kinda like the VIP section of Islam. It's the birthplace of the religion and home to its two holiest cities. They've got Mecca, Medina, the whole shebang. These cities are the heart of the Islamic world. So, for MBS to visit a church in a predominantly Muslim country no less, well, it's raised a few eyebrows. It's a bold move to say the least. Some are arched in hope, others in skepticism. People are divided on what this means. Is this just a publicity stunt, a way to gain favor with the international community, a carefully crafted photo op for the international community, or is there more to it? Or could it be something more? A genuine attempt at fostering interfaith dialogue? Could it be a sign that Saudi Arabia, under MBS's rule, is finally ready to shed its rigid adherence to Wahhabism and embrace a more, dare I say, modern approach to religion, a step towards a more inclusive society? Only time will tell, my friends. The sands of time are shifting, and we're all watching closely. But let's just say this little visit has got people talking. Conversations are happening in cafes, on social media, and in the halls of power, and that in and of itself is a pretty big deal. It's a moment that could mark the beginning of a new chapter in Saudi Arabia's history. Now, before we get ahead of ourselves and start picturing MBS leading a conga line through St. Peter's Square, let's take a step back. Saudi Arabia's relationship with Islam is, well, complicated. It's the birthplace of the Prophet Muhammad, the cradle of Islam. Mecca, with the Kaaba, is the holiest site in Islam. Muslims around the world pray facing Mecca 5 times a day, so yeah, religion is kind of a big deal over there. For centuries, Saudi Arabia has adhered to a strict interpretation of Islam known as Wahhabism. Think of it as the, shall we say, by-the-book version of Islam. It's conservative, with a capital C, and it's been the dominant force in Saudi society for a long, long time. So, yeah, MBS visiting a church is kind of like finding a vegan butcher shop. It's unexpected, to say the least. But here's the thing about MBS. He's not exactly your typical Saudi royal. He's a disruptor, a game changer, and someone who is shaking things up in a big way. He's young, he's ambitious, and he's got this whole Vision 2030 thing going on. It's a bold plan aiming to transform the kingdom in ways that were previously unimaginable. Think of Vision 2030 as Saudi Arabia's extreme makeover, social and economic edition. It's about diversifying the economy, reducing reliance on oil, and creating a more vibrant society. MBS wants to wean the kingdom off its dependence on oil. Gasp. This is a monumental shift for a country that has been synonymous with oil wealth for decades. He wants to create jobs, boost tourism, and basically turn Saudi Arabia into the Dubai of, well, Saudi Arabia. Imagine a bustling hub of innovation and culture right in the heart of the Middle East. And part of that makeover involves, you guessed it, loosening the reins on social restrictions. This means more freedoms and opportunities for the people. He's allowed women to drive, opened up cinemas, and even hosted concerts. Gasp again. These changes are groundbreaking in a society known for its conservative values. Now, whether all of this is just window dressing or a genuine attempt at reform is debatable. Critics argue that these changes are superficial, while supporters see them as a step in the right direction. But there's no denying that MBS is trying to drag Saudi Arabia, kicking and screaming, into the 21st century. It's a challenging task, but one that he seems determined to pursue. And hey, maybe, just maybe, this whole church visit thing is part of that plan. It could be a signal of a more open and tolerant Saudi Arabia, one that is ready to embrace change and diversity. Section 4. Beyond the Mosque Walls. Religious Diversity in the Middle East. This section delves into the intricate and multifaceted religious landscape of a region often misunderstood. Now let's talk about religious diversity in the Middle East. It's a region where ancient traditions and modern beliefs coexist, sometimes harmoniously, sometimes not. It's a bit of a touchy subject, kind of like bringing up your Uncle Steve's toupee at a family reunion. Everyone knows it's there, but no one really wants to talk about it. The Middle East, as you know, is often associated with Islam. The call to prayer echoes through the streets, and the architecture is a testament to centuries of Islamic influence. And rightfully so, it's the birthplace of the religion and home to a vast majority of Muslims. The region's history is deeply intertwined with the rise and spread of Islam, but it's also a region with a rich tapestry of other faiths. Christians, who have been there since the earliest days of the religion. Jews, who have ancient roots in the region. Yazidis, with their unique and ancient beliefs, and more. Each group adds to the complex mosaic of Middle Eastern spirituality. Sadly, this diversity hasn't always been met with open arms. Throughout history, and even today, religious minorities have faced significant challenges. There's been conflict, persecution, and a whole lot of you do your thing over there, and we'll do our thing over here kind of attitude. This has led to divided communities and a lack of understanding. So when MBS, the Crown Prince of the Kingdom that's basically synonymous with Islam, visits a church, it sends a powerful message. A message that, hey, maybe, just maybe, things are changing. These symbolic gestures of unity could pave the way for a more inclusive and harmonious future in the Middle East. Section 5. A ripple, not a wave. The world reacts to MBS's church visit. As you can imagine, MBS's little field trip to the Coptic cathedral didn't go unnoticed. The international community, bless their cotton socks, had a lot to say about it. Some folks, the eternal optimists, hailed it as a historic moment, a sign that Saudi Arabia is finally ready to embrace religious tolerance. Others, the more cynical bunch, dismissed it as a publicity stunt, a way for MBS to score some brownie points with the West. And then there's the rest of us, stuck somewhere in between trying to figure out what it all means. Honestly, it's too early to say what the long-term impact of this visit will be, but it's definitely sparked a conversation, and that's a good thing, right? Section 6. The long road ahead. Can Saudi Arabia embrace true religious freedom? Now, let's not get carried away here. One church visit does not a tolerant society make. Saudi Arabia still has a long way to go before it can claim any kind of moral high ground on religious freedom. Let's not forget, this is a country where converting from Islam is still punishable by death, where religious minorities face discrimination and persecution, where churches and other non-Muslim places of worship are, shall we say, discouraged. So yeah, MBS has his work cut out for him. But hey, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Section 7. A hopeful glance into the future, the potential for a more inclusive Saudi Arabia. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Saudi Arabia is about to become the next Switzerland, all neutral and peace-loving and tolerant. But I do think MBS's visit to the Coptic cathedral, however calculated it may have been, offers a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, it's a sign that things are starting to change, albeit slowly and cautiously. Maybe it's a sign that Saudi Arabia is starting to realize that embracing diversity, both religious and otherwise, is not a threat but an asset. Or maybe I'm just a naive optimist who spent too much time in the desert sun. Only time will tell.